So in Dbms tutorial, we explain today the Dbms architecture. So Dbms architecture is really very important concepts. So let's move on. In Dbms architecture, we have three layers of architecture: external level architecture, conceptual level of architecture, and internal level of architecture. So first, I'm going to give you a quick review about the external level. So external level is just as you see on the screen that it is just a view that how the data look like. So on the same data we provide different kinds of views to the different users. So the user may think that data is stored in this format, but it is not actually. The data is present on the perspective of the user. We provide different views of the same data present in our database. So we have a conceptual level or logical level. So on logical level we have logically store the data. Different kinds of logic we have been added in this, and we have internal level. So internal level is basically data stored in hard drives in a database. So let's move on. And so first we have explained about uh, three level of architecture, the history. So database star group or DBTG developed and published a proposal for the standard vocabulary and architecture for database system in 1971. So the Standard Planning and Requirements Committee of American Processing developed and published a similar vocabulary and architecture in 1975. So toward the database approach, we have first concept to the database system is 1971 related to its architecture, and then the Standard Planning and Requirements Committee of American Processing has given the same concept on 1975. So things are going on a one page. So the result of these reports were three level architecture. So these are very important dates related to the history of database architecture. So let's move on and explain the external level. So the external level consists of different external views of the database. Each external view is the view of a particular user about the system. So the same data we provide different view of the same data as I explained to you. So different views have different representation of the same data. Different views may have different representation of the same data. So data is not different. The same data can we represent them on different kinds of view as we want. So example, one user may think the data are stored in the form of month, day, year, while another user can think the data is stored in the form of day, month, or year. So virtual data is the data that is not actually stored in the database. So it is another concept, but when we need it is created. For example, we want to calculate the age of a student, the age of a person. So from the given data we can get the age of our students because we have a date of birth. So that is called virtual data, which is not present actually in the database. So example, the product name and its price can be stored in the database. So the total bill can be created when needed. So bill is a virtual data. So bill we calculate when needed. So from the given data we create another data which is called virtual data. So it's another concept which may really help you in the future. So what is the external level? This is called the external level. We have user number 1, user number 2, and user n users. So we provide the same the data but in different forms, like view number 1, view number 2, view number n. For example, we provide to user number 1 which is date, month, and year of the date of birth, and we provide the user number 2 the view second is just been year, month, and day. And that is why we provide the different kinds of viewers representation of the same data. So another architecture level is the logical or conceptual level. So this is the middle view of three level architecture. The logical or conceptual describe the stored data in the database. So it is a bridge between the logical, between the external, and between the external and the physical level. So in it contains the definition of a data to be stored in the database, and it contains the rules and information about the structure and types of data. So this level contains the logical structure of entire database. For example, all entities and their attributes, the constraint on the data, So in constraint and rules regulation, we have specified in this logical view, because logical view um, is that is why it is really very important. Logical view is the bridge between the external and the physical view. So logical view represent our data, and that is why we provide views to the system, to the users. So all entities, for example, we have a student entity, we have employee entity, and the relationship, and relationship among the employee entity and the student entity, or relation between the student entity, between the office. So whatever we have a database, so the constraint of the data, so, such as security and precautions, we can apply on the data in this level. So we have internal or physical level. This is the last layer, which provide us the information related to the physically data stored in the hard drives in the database. Internal level is responsible to store data on a storage media, as I explained to you. It describes the physical representation of database on the computer. So it describes how the data is stored in the database. An internal level is described in internal schemas. Schema means the structure of the database. They describe the internal mood. So they contain the definition of a store records, methods, representations, data fields, and indexes. So it's all about the internal architecture of the database, or the stored data in the database. So there's only one internal schemas for the database. So let's explain graphically. I see graphically. So we have, this is called external. External level means that we have roll number, name, address to the viewer number one, and we have another user. We provide this data is stored. For example, we have a roll number, name, address, book number, date of issue, date of return. So this data is present here. Now to the user number 2, we provide just only these three things. So the same data, we represent them in different forms. So that is called external level. So what is conceptual level? Conceptual levels means the information related to the data, means field name is data type, roll number is number, we have a range, name, character, address, character set, book number, date of issue. So it's all about the conceptual data, that how the data is stored, the type of the data we specify in this conceptual level. We have internal layer. So store item is length. We have specified the architecture of the data present in the database. We have explained, we have set the roll number, which is byte, and name is byte, offset 6, all the thing we have specified in this layer. So external level provide us the views of the data. Conceptual level provide how logic, or what kinds of logic are applied, and constraint or security precautions are taken on the data. And the internal level delivers us the architecture of the data, the type of the data, the index numbers, and whatever we have. So this is the three level of standard architecture, and this is the example of three level architecture of a college management system. So students data is present and represented in external level. In conceptual level, we specify the data architecture, and the internal level, we have to store data about the storage, and about the offset, the length. So it's all about the internal level, conceptual level, and external level. If you have any kind of issue or some query, so write